the Sad Dads Club podcast. Here's everybody's favorite sad dads, Jim and Boo.
Here's something interesting.
I was gonna, that we're Sad Dads Club podcast, episode 168.
Is that we're just getting right into it?
Yeah, the fucking.
We're just getting right into it.
I mean, you could, that could what? Right.
My daughter goes to Fullerton, and my wife and my daughter follow their social media,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Well, they had posted an interesting thing on Twitter, I think, which was essentially that there were like 40 students that had a anti-vax protest on campus.
oh,
And the classic is the photograph of the guy with the "My Body, My Choice" sign.
oh, right.
And, that just strikes. You know what? Yeah, okay, sure. I get it. I get that.
Right.
But you know what? It's not my body, my choice. When you have COVID and you give it to somebody else, they don't have a choice. They just get it from you.
Yeah, it looks great on poster board, but like think this one through.
But also, now we have a situation where there is a phrase that has been coined and owned by people, abortion rights.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's a phrase that's been coined by people, pro-choice folks, and here we are.
Right.
And
you'd be hard pressed to find me someone that's probably using that. I'm going to say slogan, but that phrase.
Yeah.
For the COVID situation that is not also someone who's probably someone who is probably pro-life and is all for the restrictions and defundings of women being able to make their own choices about their own body.
Well, not to mention the fact that we're on the cusp of the Supreme Court probably overturning Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, the shift of the "my body, my choice" thing,
right,
is like ridiculous.
Yeah. The moment I started seeing that type of messaging.
Yeah.
And it's again, there's not a blanket statement to be able to say they're all one, but there is a large portion of hypocrisy in that defense for something COVID, because
right.
I guarantee you, the majority of those people have no problem saying that, women need to have some sort of governance on child rearing as far as like while it's in the womb kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but you can't. And then also say,
right.
You're fucking 2 + 2 is not 98.
Yeah.
You dipshits.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like become the. I mean, we don't really come out and say it, but I feel like that's the Republican chant now. Is like the hypocrisy of it all is just like, we're just going to say whatever the opposite is. It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. If we, you know what I mean? It's like there's no thought put into any of the slogans they come up with or whatever. It's just because you are against it or you are for it, I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah.
And that's what's frustrating to me about the Republican side. I mean, I'm not saying that the left side is perfect and correct and everything.
Yeah, absolutely not.
And the right side, there are a lot of problems. I just can't understand how that party is even cohesive at all.
Yeah.
I feel like it's fractured. You know what I mean? Like, especially after like the January 6th stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you have some super far right folks that don't really jive with the like kind of right folks.
Right. Well, we just saw what was into. That touches on a thing because Bob Dole had just passed. I think in the last 3 or 4 days. And I saw that and I went, when he was in his prime.
Do you want to know what I said? Bob Dole.
Yeah, Bob Dole done died. Bob Dole.
I'm Bob Dole. Sorry.
I wasn't into politics or civics, for that matter, as
Right.
much as when he was in his prime, and certainly probably towards his presidential run. I wasn't, but I knew him from Norm Macdonald, who's also passed
The
last
SNL,
year,
yeah.
and his skits, and he always seemed well mannered. But really, what stuck out to me as in the news of his passing is that I recognized him as one of the types of Republicans that I don't see much of anymore.
No, there's definitely been a passing of that guard.
While I couldn't regurgitate his stance on a lot of policies, I would wager that I probably didn't see eye to eye on them. But as a politician, I think he carried himself in a way, and as a character, and the service that he did for the country, I have admiration for him and his service.
Yeah.
Regardless of his policies.
Well, and that's what we were missing for 4 years.
Right. And as this carries into the
Yeah.
next set of elections, I still see a vacuum on that type of conservative or Republican named politician. Few and far between. And those that are or relatively close have either left the party or they're ostracized within the party for those middle right type of views, or like the calling out of like, hey, man, you're batshit crazy.
Right.
Like, that is fucking deep end.
Right.
And so then they're poison pill kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very, very
That's
weird
how I
to
see it,
see
too.
in
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, rip Bob Dole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like his World War II stuff.
Yeah.
Damn. And like a number of the highlights of him, he was just a good sport. Like the SNL stuff, he was a good sport about it. Regardless of how you thought about it, his politics. He was one of those that, like, when he was gone outside of politics, when he had left, he, maintained a good
Public standing or
yeah, he was just a good
presence?
sport. He
Yeah.
was just a good sport about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And on the note of someone passing, my Davis's girlfriend's grandmother died of COVID this week, which is pretty sad. Or over the weekend, I want to say. I think it was over the weekend.
So,
which is
was it
kind of bummer.
quick? I mean,
No,
that seems
she
like a
was-
very awkward
She was in the hospital
for a long time.
for a few weeks. Yeah.
I
think she
hate-
was ventilated and everything.
Really?
Yeah.
I hate to see that.
Yeah.
I just saw that. I think the Vermont, might have been Vermont or New Hampshire. Someone, in the medical staff was tweeting. A first responder thing was tweeting about how they're out of critical emergency room space.
Yeah.
Everything minus
still
one
happening.
bed. Yeah, we're still here, people.
Yeah. It's still happening.
And like I just saw a couple studies for Omicron coming out.
Okay.
That's still raw.
Well, I feel like they don't know a lot about it.
Like I said, first couple. I gather that it's grain of salt. Please do your own research. But from what I gleaned about the studies that are coming, it's more transmissible because because it's got more mutations, like on a N plus extra of Delta.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like short fuse, like it dies quick.
Oh.
So you may get it. You may get it even though you're vaccinated and potentially boosted. But
So it's built to spread.
Yeah, but your case is going to be reduced.
Yeah.
So, like its contagion factor is higher, but its impact may be lessened.
Mm-hmm.
So in that danger, you've got something where the whatever population isn't vaccinated yet may see that part. I don't know
Right.
how that's
that was
going
my
to play out.
Remember we were talking about that. It was like, is the vaccine even helpful against it or not? I don't know. I don't know what the mutation means as far as
and it's still
as far as
like I think they've only got. I think California only. We went into the end of last week, and California had only just reported its first variant case.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's the only one. That just means that's the first one where someone's actually, so I don't doubt that it's out there and propagating fast. I think Denmark or the Netherlands, it's spreading fast, but Netherlands is also like everyone's covered, everyone's vaccinated. So we're all kind of, it's taking a toll, but it's like it's a quick burn.
Have you partaken in Apple TV Plus, the morning show? Have you watched that at all?
Season 1.
Oh, you have?
We ripped through.
Damn, I feel like I can't say anything. You need to watch the next season.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this is like the way this show is written, it's written with sort of real events, because it's a news organization essentially.
Right.
And so they have in their scripts timely news things woven in that are
right.
By the time, I don't know if it's by the time we get to them when it was shot, they were timely, but then by the time they were released and we actually saw them, because the last season 2 show came out, I think a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And we just watched it. As far as the timeline of COVID, the end of the show is like a little over a year ago or more.
Okay.
No, it's almost 2 years ago, because it's right at the beginning of the pandemic when stuff started hitting our shores here.
Okay.
So that would have been almost 2 years ago. Oh, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it came kind of,
We're on 2 and change. So they're going into the news story of COVID?
Well, it's affecting the show. It's definitely affecting them. And they had people sort of reporting on it. But remember, people who were reporting on it, it's really interesting because you saw little tidbits here in China and Wuhan and blah, blah, blah. And it was sort of it's the far away thing. It's so far away from me.
Yeah.
That won't get to me.
Yeah.
They were in that for a while, and then now it's starting to hit people in the U.S. It's really interesting. And that's at the end of season 2, so you still have a full season to get there.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting to watch that with the hindsight of what...
yeah.
That's what's fascinating to me, because it's kind of like a real-time thing based in real life, but in the show.
Yeah.
That's been written into their show. Fascinating.
Because season 1 was, a year to 2 years post the Me Too movement, of which season 1 was really wrapped around.
Right.
And then along with the California wildfires, made a significant stint in season 1.
Yeah, and
but California is always on fire, so that could have been any time. But the Me Too
they also
movement,
did the Las Vegas shooting. That was part of the show.
Yeah.
Now they've dealt with some of those gremlins of season 1 in season 2, but then also with the timeline of like the up and coming COVID thing, which is really interesting. I recommend it. It's just interesting from the hindsight perspective.
There were
the show's really good regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, star power aside. I can't believe we wouldn't have talked about it, but the writing is top notch.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent to me of some of the, and I'll draw a blank because I don't know if Aaron Sorkin's involved, but it reminds me a lot of the Aaron Sorkin stuff. Like the writing is like of West Wing, or the what was the Jeff Daniels one on HBO, Newsroom? It's very.
I didn't watch that.
If you like morning show, you would probably also really like Newsroom. That same kind of vein with newsroom.
Right.
So you're following, but it's more of the behind the scenes. So it's the producer, director, the executive producer. It's
the talent.
Yeah, it's not the talking heads.
Yeah.
Where morning show is more the following that story. It's more about the news desk part where they're cobbling. Like I said, super amazing. But it reminds me a lot of that, like where the topics are very adult. And you're not, especially the season 1 morning show, you're a lot of the Me Too stuff and the perspective of the oh my God, Steve Carell's character, and his conduct with women, very. Hey, if you're a dude, you should watch it. I mean, it's very hard to watch as a man to see.
Oh, it's like you kind of think back on your life and be like, where did I fuck up?
I mean,
I hope I wasn't a part of any of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
well, he's a predator, plain and simple. But to see it put on the screen, it's like this happens, people. This is a real world. This happens, and it's jarring yet refreshing because people need to see that these kind of people are out there and they need to be dealt with. They need to be called to the carpet. They need to be held accountable.
Right.
And, ugh.
Yeah, very good, very well done show. Season 2 is no exception.
Right. And we saw something similar, like the Chris Cuomo thing, where he went to suspension and then got fired. And we made a comment like, there was no real way.
You want to break the rules. It doesn't matter if you have the highest rated show on the network.
Right. You
broke some rules.
There were ethics rules here. Everyone has to abide by them. Now, is that always the case? No. But this guy, I mean, when your mistake is so flippin' egregious, and that more is probably going to come out.
Fox News just threw that book out the window and burned it.
Yeah, well, we can't all be perfect, right? Hashtag no, Fox News, no. There was only one way that was going to end.
Yeah.
And it was exactly how it happened. He got canned.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll land on his feet somewhere. He still has a serious radio talk show.
He'll be doing weather on some local TV station soon.
And over here, tons of rain and clouds in New York.
Yeah.
He'll be fine. He's a Cuomo. He'll be fine.
Yeah.
And hopefully he's
maybe they'll start a network together, the two brothers. And then they can make the rules. And,
Yeah,
I
hope not.
So I got a question. How is the Jeep going? We talked about the Jeep a couple weeks ago.
So, I guess we touched on it, but we didn't. Like, I kept meaning to make it like a huge point to talk about.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because
So it's what year is it?
99.
99 Jeep Wrangler?
TJ, yes.
Okay.
So it's the 4-cylinder version. Most people know the 6. And
this one's gutless.
So here's the thing. When she dropped it off, there's a myriad of stories. We could probably just burn the rest of the show just on this.
I mean,
so if you wind back a couple shows, you would know that at the tail end of one, I was like, just bring me the Jeep.
Yeah.
I'll fix the Jeep.
Yeah.
Let me work on the Jeep. Let me help you out.
Yeah.
I think over the course of that next weekend, they had hit a roadblock with something or something else had gone wrong, and my nagging my daughter to nag her friend.
So what was that conversation for your daughter to her friend? Was it like...
I have no idea. I hope... I didn't get like verbatim. I just got Emily says they can bring it by. And I went... I was working or doing something that both days of the weekend. I was busy. And I'm like when? She was like, right now? And I went... Like
Hey,
when I remember,
you asked for it.
I know. I said, and bring me the fucking Jeep, and then she was like, okay.
So they bring the Jeep. Was there? How was it left? Were you like,
Okay.
I'm okay? Give me all the. I mean, how?
Yeah.
Were you just like, does it matter how long I have it? What was
so
that?
I didn't cover time per se. Okay, so I just asked, yes, bring it over as long as you're here. So give me.
I mean, you didn't tell them this is a YouTube channel and we're
right. I said, bring it over and bring me all the documentation that they have from them taking it to the mechanics because I wasn't going to deal with trying to
decipher
play relay.
Yeah.
Of either she's really close with her older brother.
Yeah.
Or her, and she's totally busy with school, like I said, overachiever, busy with school, not a mechanic, and neither is he. He's got a job. He's a nurse. So anyway, I said, bring me the Jeep, but bring me all the documentation. In the meantime, I pulled up Carfax, and I saw that they had taken it to a shop in mid-October, and then something must have happened again because the mid-October job on Carfax was like, all the maintenance, transmission fluid, oil, blah, 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 blah. And then a late appointment to a shop in October was like a diagnosis, like in quotes of all the things that they were having problems with only prices, but customer is taking Jeep back without any change kind of thing.
Right.
So they bring me this. They bring me the Jeep. It obviously runs. They drove it over here. They hand me all the documentation, and I said, so here's how this will work. I said, I am not a certified mechanic.
Good starting point. Here, sign right here.
Yeah, sign right here. I have an NDA and a waiver that says, Lord Fu the mechanic. I said, but I'm handy with cars. I'm handy with my hands. I've got a lot of tools.
And lots of time.
I grew up in the country, so yeah, right? Lots of fucking time. I said I grew up in the country, so I
mean, did you do a transmission swap at lunch today, or what?
If only, right? If it needs it, probably. And I said, so I grew up in the country. I'm familiar with cars.
Yeah.
But I said, so here's my disclaimer. I said, I will only fix the things that I am 100% confident that I can fix, and that I would put myself or anyone in my family in the vehicle.
Right.
So if I don't feel that I can fix it to a caliber where I would feel safe, or putting my daughter in the car and letting her drive it, I'm not going to do it, but I'll get you as close as I can and then tell you that you need a professional to get from to point B.
Sure.
I said, so we kind of covered some of the basic things of what the person, the mechanic had found, and then we got sort of towards the tail end of the conversation. And I said, so let me get the other elephant in the room out of the way. I said, anything that needs to be purchased as far as a part, I'm not going to come to you and ask for money. I said, this is a pay it forward thing.
That is bullshit.
Of course. And they were very upset with that.
Right.
I said, this is a pay it forward thing for me.
Yeah.
I said, I've sort of been in your shoes when I was younger, and there is nothing here but me trying to fix something. And if it's a part or something that's so egregiously expensive, chances are that's not something I'm going to be able to fix anyway. But I'll get you everything around it repaired.
Yeah. And
then you can go from there with something that's, if it's thousands of dollars, well then that's not me anyway.
Right.
And super appreciative, super thank yous, but I had a list, and it was essentially they had a running oil leak somewhere, didn't know where. They had a quote for the power steering box leak somewhere, didn't know exactly where. The quote was to replace it entirely. They had engine mounts busted, need to be replaced. The check engine light was on. The engine code that they had ripped was a bank 1, something's running lean. Oh shit.
Yeah.
That's all I can think of.
That's probably a sensor.
Off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So the way I approach a lot of the car stuff is, and it's a little OCD for me, is especially if I'm chasing a
tear the motor out.
leak of some sort. Right. Oh, the best part was I'd done a little bit of the primer because when I was looking at Jeeps, we had talked about trying to get a Jeep for Piper, something that we want the runabout, to wreck it, no one cares.
Right.
So I had already a little bit, and it's on I think it's on my top 10, like a Jeep,
Right.
Anyway, so I had running knowledge. There's a huge ass joke about the 4 cylinders, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a joke. Like, how can I mod my 4-cylinder for more power? How can I more power or torque? And the running joke is, you just swap it out with the inline 6 one.
Are you gonna do a turbo on it?
Yeah. And so I had made a joke because also the other problem was, she's skittish about driving it on the freeway.
Yeah.
Because it's an automatic, so it's a 3-speed automatic. The tires aren't as big as I was led to believe. Like if they were 31s, it would be problematic, but they're really like closer to 29.5. That's not too big. But at highway speeds, it just flat out starts running out of gumption.
That's amazing to think about. I guess from a gearing standpoint,
right?
It's being held back, but
automatic 3 speeds.
Yeah.
So that was a concern too. Like, so I made a joke when they dropped it off. I'm like, yeah, so it's the 4-cylinder, and everyone pretty much treats that as the redheaded stepchild of the motors. My first, and I told them I was going to drive it, but I wouldn't be doing donuts. My first shakedown.
I don't think you probably could.
No, you cannot. Not even close. In fact, if I doused the tires in Dawn soap and then had a skid pad, I still don't think.
You may not be able to get the tires to break traction.
Yeah, probably not. In my first couple shakedowns and driving it around, I'll be 100% on it. I feel I was way wrong. It is a really stout motor. Tons of torque.
I was going to say it probably has more torque than horsepower.
Oh yeah, pretty close.
Yeah.
If you just let it idle, it'll crawl up the drive. I mean, it reminded me a lot of my dad's square body Chevy. At idle with the V8, obviously, it's got enough to just go.
Well, I mean,
super impressed.
That makes sense for it makes sense for a Jeep, right?
Right. Yeah. It's meant to and geared for that type of.
I mean, if you're going to take a Jeep crawling, it's just right.
Right. It's down there. Yeah. Absolutely. So I was like, man, I feel egg in my face because it's the stereotypical thing. Like I've read some shit on the internet, so clearly I know how to have a perception. No, I was wrong. It was a
well. What was it? Did you get it up on? Did you take it out on the freeway at all?
No, I just looped it around here because when I did my first couple drives, I was still dealing with the check engine light, so I didn't want to. If it was running lean, I didn't want to go anywhere fast. So the first couple runarounds, just to get an idea, sounds, whatnot. I got it parked in the back. Super awesome to have the turning radius of something that small. It's really nimble.
Yeah.
I got right under it. Yeah, there's oil schmitz, but it's also a 99, so it's like hard to gauge. Well, when did this start, and where is it coming from?
Yeah, you got spatter going on.
But
that's been there
real easily. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now that I've got it parked and I'm under it, okay. So I'm taking like a snapshot in my mind kind of thing. I get back in the Jeep, doors open, I turn it over, it starts right up. But to me, it sounds like there's an exhaust pipe coming right out at the driver's side door. I'm like, my 4-cylinder experience are like peppies. Yeah. So your Hondas, my Ford, the Miata, high revving, kind of quiet. This sounds and runs like a diesel.
So does it not have an exhaust leak?
Yeah, getting there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'm like, is that normal? It's I'm having trouble trying to gauge.
The EPA would say that's not normal.
Right. Is it normal because it sounds different or what? So I had a snapshot. Really, I was chasing to see if I could get an obvious picture of where the fluids were leaking. So I turned it over. I'm like, well, that sounds off right out of the gate. So I leave it running, get back onto the creeper, and I under it. And my first impression, because she likes to
start feeling
if
the
I start
exhaust.
getting spray. My first impression, because she's taken it off road, was perhaps she had hit a rock, or because it was a 99, she had just rust, or the exhaust system just had a leak somewhere.
Yeah.
Like maybe, or she punched a hole in it from a rock. So I'm under the creeper, the engine's running. I'm looking. I'm like, the pipes all look solid. The skid plates all look in place. There doesn't look like anything. And I'm like tracing it all the way to the manifold, and sure as shit, the flange of the downpipe. So like your first segment coming right off the engine, your downpipe, mates up to the exhaust manifold. It has one bolt, and then the other bolt is the stud isn't even on the flange at all. So
it's hanging down.
It's kind of hanging off. So it's lopsided. It's cattywampus.
Yeah.
And
but that makes it run efficiently.
Oh, totally. 2 inches after the flange, there's a bung and a probe for O2.
Yeah.
Well,
there's your check engine light.
There's your check engine light.
Yeah.
If it's inputs doesn't match outputs, and it's real obvious, I'm like, best case scenario for that type of engine code.
Right.
So I right out of the bat, I had ordered new exhaust flange nuts and studs just in case there were problems with the studs themselves.
Yeah. So you got that all cinched up?
Those got cinched. I cleared the code, drove it around again for a bit, and I mean that's a spanning of days there at that point.
So the code gone?
The code is gone.
Nice.
I've had a number of runs with it.
Hold on. Look at you.
I know. Scratch that one off. What? Fuck it. And really, that one was my top priority because they had an appointment on the 30th of November to look at that specific issue. I think that had happened probably somewhere after the 30th on their initial.
So they no longer had to do that.
So I said, that's what I'm tackling first, and that's what I got first, and turns out that was a bolt.
Right.
It was that simple.
Easy.
In cleaning the engine stuff, it's pretty clear that they do have a slow weeping oil leak, which likely is the front crank seal, and they could probably just use a new harmonic balancer. So those parts I did finally get, but that one's like a day job. The power steering box does. Here's how I found that one out. Once I had the undercarriage fully cleaned, in getting in and out and testing the exhaust bolts. Like I said, I got to snake the Jeep in between the Z and the RV in the backyard. So and in going from crank to crank, and if you've
you got a little leak there.
If you ever go crank to crank in like an older car, you get the
right.
Like, oh, you've gone too much, bitch. And the older your car, the more it makes a sound letting you know.
Right.
Like, I can't go any further. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I get it parked, and then I get underneath the Jeep to see, is my oil leaking? And there is a clear as day, like, cat feral spray from the top of the power steering box.
Is it a seal, do you think? Or
it's a seal, yeah.
Okay.
Now,
you can usually get seal kits for those,
You
right?
can, and they're relatively cheap.
Yeah.
Under $20.
Yeah.
However, at this point in getting that far in the diagnosis, along with working, 5-day weeks and trying, and parts, I'm looking at, I can do this. Once you get the steering box out, it's just grease monkey work.
Yeah.
The hardest part, right? The hardest part is getting the steering box out,
right,
and then back in.
I would imagine though, with a 4-cylinder, you've got
there's a little
plenty of room.
There's a lot more room, and I'm thankful when I start getting into the front crank seal and the harmonic balancer, the fan shroud's really big. But if I had 2 extra cylinders from the inline 6, I'd be even more trying to like origami my hands to get at things.
Right.
But the fact that it's 4 and I've got 6 to 8 inches, of extra room, makes it easier to get a pulley in there or puller in there on the pulley to get all that shit out.
Right.
So the steering box, my approach was, given that I was starting to run a little long in the time, it was, I could do the seals. I'm confident I could do the seals. But at $130 to $140 for a remanufactured and pressure I put this in the Discord, and a pressure tested rebuilt steering box for the like for like, I could circumvent the time needed to
pull it out, put it in.
Pull it out, put it in.
Yeah.
Right. Easy peasy? No. Time consuming? Yes, but less time consuming than replacing the seals. And Nick has Piper's boyfriend. Nick has a Jeep, relatively also a TJ, but just later model. I think she has another friend in the group that also has a Jeep. They're all using that Saginaw steering box. So if I keep the steering box, I can replace the seals on my own pace,
and then give it to somebody.
And if someone else blows a box or has hey. Hey.
This became a not family show suddenly.
We're trying to get some free peanuts, and I'm talking about blowing boxes. Hey.
I'll blow a box of Tennessee peanuts right now, I'll tell you that much.
I tell you, hey. 2 thumbs up, bitches. I'll put that in the thumbnail. I could give that, pay it forward to another kid if they have same problem.
Right.
So I get to keep that as far as something when I get there.
So you haven't replaced that yet?
I haven't had a chance yet. That one's like another day project.
Slowest mechanic ever.
I know.
Jesus.
Here
I have to be honest.
The drum brakes.
I keep waiting for hey man, I'm got this thing on the Jeep. Can you come over and help? I keep waiting for this.
So here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
The hopscotching that I'm having to do, I'm not opposed to that.
Yes.
And my dad, when I was telling the same story to my dad, he was like, "Oh, just let me know when you need to come down." I'm the last 2 to 3 weeks where I thought I would have more time to do that and be like, "It's a Jeep party."
Yeah.
Like, come on over. We're doing the steering pump, and it's probably going to take more than my hands anyway.
Yeah.
I'm having I can't do that thing that needs more hands because I don't have the time. So I do
the smaller things.
Something else in like a piecemeal part.
Yeah.
And a lot of that was the power steering or the steering box came in, and the parts for the harmonic balancer and the crank seal came in. And I have engine mounts, but that's getting in the guts, and that's probably a 4 to 6 hour thing. And I haven't been able to get that block of time.
Yeah.
The moment I do, I guarantee you there's going to be fucking come down and help hold this fucking steering box.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I bounce around from thing to thing. The drum brakes in the rear were another one that I missed. And she has a leaky brake cylinder.
Those are drum brakes are just no. Have you done a drum?
Yeah.
Oh
my dad's to the square body had drum brakes.
Oh, I hate doing drum
brakes.
The
Datsun had drum. The bulk of the cars, the drum brakes in the Z.
The Civic had drum brakes.
It's pain.
Yeah.
The parts, there's a whole story with it. So I got the drums taken apart. Yeah, the right rear brake cylinder was totally shot. Those parts came in really fast. In disassembling, I'm like, all right, well, if you get into the drum brakes at something, drums go way longer than rotors do.
Yeah.
So you can go 60 to 80,000 miles and be fine on drums with the same shoes and never. But someone cracked it open and said, "You've got this. You need so when you do drums,
but if you're replacing the master cylinder or because you got a leak,
right,
you might as well just do the
right. You would want to do everything anyway,
Yeah.
and it's got 118,000 miles. So none of those things had been done anyway. The shoes need to be replaced. The kit itself, all the springs, the retainers, and all that, you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Amazon had everything that I needed. It was like 2-day shipping kind of thing. It wasn't Prime, but it was fast.
Nice.
So I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
They came. They came Tuesday or Wednesday of last week, except it wasn't the brake drum kit. I got bright and shiny rotors.
Oh.
Not what I ordered.
Are you going to do a conversion?
So at this point, if I'd have known that I'd have been if I'd have known that I'd be delayed 2 weeks in brake drum parts, I'd have just shelled out and said, by the way, Merry Christmas. I converted your rear drums to discs and you're better.
That's funny because on the Civic, the drums were such a pain in the ass to work on that I considered doing a conversion, and there is a bolt-on conversion that you can get that is actually an Acura Integra rear end.
Oh, yeah.
Like just the swing arm. You just basically unbolt and you just put the swing arm on there that's got the And then I think the only other thing you have to change is the distribution block.
Right.
And I didn't know anything about that, so I was like, I'm kind of nervous about that.
Yeah.
So I did not do it, and the car got totaled, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, their number is same thing for the Jeep, specifically for that, in particular for that era of Jeep.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of bolt-ons. It's just like how aggressive and premium do you want the calipers and pistons in the calipers and whatnot.
Right.
I got close, but I just went, drums, and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
In hindsight, the parts for the brake rotor conversion disc brake kit would have been here already, and I probably could have had that scratched off the list.
And then you wouldn't have to do drum brakes.
And then I wouldn't have had to do drum brakes. I could have just ripped all that shit out of there and just gutted it and then put on new shit. And
Easy peasy discs.
I know.
Yeah.
At 5-6 times the cost, but it may have been done.
Yeah. And then you're like, and also anti-lock brakes.
Right. So here's the best part about so I'm in a holding pattern for a lot of the stuff that I have now. I have most of the parts, and then the weather went to shit.
Yes, it's been pretty
damp
and very cool the last couple of days.
So now I'm in this place where it's like I'm putting on extra hoodies and shit, and I'm starting to like, I got to start knocking out some stuff. Like, can I do engine mounts in the dark? Fuck yeah, all right.
I mean, I haven't even gone out and cleaned the leaves out of the pool because the water's cold.
Oh.
That's how chilly it is.
Wow. First world.
I mean, yeah.
So, and so I've had it for quite a while.
So the main couple of things are the brakes and the steering box that still need to be taken care of. Is there some other major thing?
The oil.
Oh, the oil
that's weeping.
That's right.
It's not as... based off of what I cleaned from the undercarriage.
It's not a lot.
There was a significant, and they've already replaced the oil gasket at some point. So I think there was probably a bigger problem at some point that was likely 80% knocked out when they replaced the oil pan gasket.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's still a running weeping from the front crankshaft seal. So
those aren't hard to change. It's just getting to them.
Right. Exactly. And like you pointed out, the 4-cylinder affords me a little bit of extra headroom to work around.
Yeah.
So it's just finding time. What has been really, she's been really understanding ever since like they dropped it off like the first, I think it'd gone a week. What I started doing was I would take tons of pictures and things that I had fixed when airbag light came on, or was on, that I wasn't paying attention to. A lot of before and after pictures, and I'd had it for a week. Told her, wrote her a note, took a screenshot, and like sent it to her. Like, here's what I've done. Here's what I've looked at. But I made it somewhat funny. I didn't necessarily talk down to her because I don't know her aptitude for mechanics, but I wanted her to understand like what I was doing and why I was doing it, and not talk over her, but not presume that she's an idiot either.
Right,
so
right.
I did it in a fun way, and then accompanied it with pictures, and then I made funny ha-has on most of the pictures. And she was just appreciative of
to have an update.
That
That
but being
happened?
told what was
Right.
wrong or what was being noticed in terms that
She could understand.
she could understand.
Yeah.
And I think when I had showed Venus, like, so I sent her an update, and I said this, and like this was her response. And Venus was like, "Yeah, well, you can only imagine, like,
It's all big scary
right."
stuff.
I talked to Kim too. She's like, "Yeah, you, as a woman, you take your car, and some dude or salesman or mechanic talks at you to like sell you, blah, 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 blah. And you don't have to be a mechanic to know that if someone wants to talk over you,
yeah,
they can,
Sure.
especially if they're a professional and you're not, and you've got a different day job,
It's just like me talking video to you.
Right. And, and I was telling Piper, too, because I kind of generally run everything that I'm conversing to Emily through Piper with, like, a filter. Like, is this weird that I would be, is this okay?
Yeah, are you
like,
creepy?
I don't want to, I don't want to,
My friend's creepy dad who's working on my Jeep is
he's
weird.
keeping it for a long time.
Yeah, I'd really like it back, but he just won't give it to me.
Won't give it to me. She,
Yeah.
So I haven't crossed any fine lines. But along the way too, I've been buying some extra stuff that I thought, oh well, her seats were 20, 21-year-old seats. They'd seen better days, and the seat covers that she had probably from the previous owner seen even better days. So I got new seat covers.
Nice.
I got new floor mats. The center console, like panel,
The
like
center,
with vents.
Yeah.
So the center
The
panel
center
itself,
console panel.
it had its tabs to hold it down had broken off at some point. Who the fuck knows when?
Right.
I could just. I could pull it off. It had places for screws, but you couldn't fucking fasten it to the dash.
Wow.
Good luck with that. So I had an eBay salvage unit that was replaced. Oh shit.
Some of that stuff it makes or break. I mean, there's a lot of things on Millie's car that I have gone through, and they're like missing little dressing pieces on the back of her her seat.
Mm-hmm.
That the little plastic that covers the rails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I ordered all those parts and put them in. It just makes a big difference.
Little tiny things.
Yeah.
Also probably one of the biggest and almost dangerous ones was her climate control. So your blower speeds, and she has AC. So your blower speeds and you're going from AC to heater whatnots. That was completely non-functional. You could turn the blower and you only had one speed on the blower out of 4. When I had pulled that out, the blower speed pigtail was completely melted and fused to the panel.
Jeez.
And the selector for AC and like your flapper box controller, so defroster, low, high, center, whatever, that had plastic fused contacts too. In the Jeeps, notorious for when the blower and there's like a heater thermistor start to go out. When you rotate between blower speeds, it starts to overdraw current. And then when you go back down, shut up, Bo. Siri, you dirty hoe. When you overdraw, like turn it to high speed, it overdraws current. And then if you quickly go back down through the speeds, the current leaps and arcs across the contacts for the different speeds in the pigtail itself. Right?
That's scary.
And it goes, oh, well, I'll just go here.
Shortest route.
Yeah, and it shorts it.
Wow.
And then it blows the contact.
Yeah.
So
lots of blowing.
That was one of the priciest quotes that
yeah, because they're doing all brand new.
Right.
Yeah.
The proper way, I will say this full openness, is the proper way is because likely the harness is compromised at that point. You should replace the entire interior harness.
Yeah.
But they sell new pigtails to splice into it. You can do it that way.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I replaced the panel itself, so the whole 3-dial controller, brand new pigtail.
Is there a retrofit kit for that so that it doesn't do that anymore? Or is it just expected that's going to happen?
The fix really is to replace the part. There's no retro.
So the part still does the same issue.
It has a lot of it has to do with age.
Oh, okay.
And so in my replacing the heat thermistor, and the blower and the panel, all of the parts that start to age and increase the
resistance and
right.
Yeah.
I've at least got her back to 0.
I gotcha.
So yes, it will. All the parts are the same. So over time, this will likely happen again. It's one of just a Jeep inevitability
over the next.
But I have
another 30 years.
Yeah, I have replaced enough parts where she's at least back to close to square one.
Right.
And she will probably sell the Jeep or run the motor into the dirt before it'll happen again.
Yeah.
Based off of, urban driving experiences. This is one of those cases of you could overthink the problem. So when I had fixed the check engine light, once the light had gone off, I in and out, got back in the car, starting it, just going through rotations, and then I realized, fuck it, has that red airbag light been on this whole time?
Oh, yeah.
And
was it there?
I'm like, I don't remember. I was only really, it was one of those tunnel vision, like when Tony was here and we were talking about perception.
Yeah.
Like when you're not looking for something, did it really happen kind of a thing? And something. I'd been so focused on the one problem at hand that I had not noticed whether or not there had always been the red airbag light on the entire time.
Now, does the airbag light give you a code? You should have had a code, right?
No, because it's old enough
that you don't get codes.
You don't know code.
So you just know something's wrong.
Right, something's wrong. So I look underneath the driver's seat because maybe there's a seat sensor, but it's old enough that doesn't exist.
Sometimes it's seatbelt buckles.
Sometimes. So I tried that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Seatbelts, a sensor underneath the seat. There was one, but that's the seatbelt sensor. I'm like, is it a passenger thing? I had Xander come out and sit in both seats and buckle both buckles. Fuck, it doesn't going off. So I spent like a weekend doing research, and apparently Jeep's another one of like the climate control ones is over time the clockwork spring inside the steering column.
Oh, so it can't contact the
may go out, and the clockwork spring is like a $90 fucking part.
Yeah.
And you're doing steering wheel yanking.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
That's not
when I'm fucking with airbags. I'm like,
it's really. To be honest with you, I replaced the steering wheel in the Civic because the steering wheel started to deteriorate.
Yeah.
So I found a replacement steering wheel, and it actually isn't that hard. A friend of mine is in the body shop industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I messaged him. I was like, hey, he's like, just all you got to do is just unhook the battery for like 15-20 minutes, and then you're going to be good to like take off the cover and like unplug the airbag because it'll discharge everything so that it won't blow up on you. That was the biggest thing, was just make sure you unplug the negative for 15, 20 minutes before you start touching stuff. And then getting the steering wheel off was super easy.
Yeah.
And putting it back on, I did mess up something, but it all ended up working out.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really that hard. It wasn't really that hard.
It just looked like
more involved than you thought you wanted.
Right. I'm like, I already have these other things where I've got to.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to do is then have to be. Anyway. So I had started looking at the, like, okay, so Clockwork Spring, where can I get these on eBay? Right. And I had multiple tabs, like of searching with it, and everyone was like, stuck airbag light. Here's the Clockwork Spring, blah blah blah. I'm like, fine.
Did you order one?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was out in the Jeep and I was looking for something else. I was awaiting the pigtail parts for the climate control module.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the glove box off. And I'm like, well, what are the odds that maybe
it's the passenger bag?
Yeah, there's a passenger bag, or there's just something, a fuse or something else, because of this thing. Because I know the climate control went sideways. Maybe that arcing propagated out to something in the fuse box. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So the glove box is off, so I'm clear shot, clear as day, looking at the fuse box. It's super handy in a Jeep.
Yeah.
And in the top row, fuse box, bold letters, airbag. 2 fuses, one of which is not in there.
Oh, geez, really?
I'm like, no fucking way. Really?
So that means that the airbag light would have been on the whole time.
It would have been on the whole time.
Yeah.
So I just wasn't observant. So then it was.
So why did someone take it out?
That's a great fucking question. I don't know.
Maybe they were wheeling and they didn't want them to go off.
The only thing I could think of is that if in the I have a ton of guesses, none of which are probably right. One would be perhaps at the early onset of the climate control thing going sideways, they lost a speed and perhaps blew a fuse, which is also a 10 amp fuse. Someone took what they thought was the passenger airbag fuse, put it in the blower one, so that way the blower would work
and then
on some speeds and just never replaced it because, it's an airbag light, but no one's really going to pay attention to it.
I mean, I could see I could see someone pulling it, because if you have an airbag light, it means it's shut down the airbag system in general.
Yeah.
So if you pull a fuse, now the computer's going to freak out, and it doesn't. No airbags will work.
Yeah, no airbag.
So I would assume that, in my opinion, it's a Jeep. Like, well, we're going to go wheeling. We don't want bags to pop.
Could be.
Like,
very well could
you
be.
Get tipped a certain way,
very
or you
well.
hit something.
That could be it too.
Yeah, you don't want to like literally not be able, like have bags pop and then suddenly you're.
I hadn't thought about that. That's quite possibly it. I need to make a note.
Yeah.
Remind me to make a note to, if they do that, if that's the thing. Maybe it's a Jeep thing.
It could be.
It could be. Makes sense.
Know.
It had a disable. She has like the key thing to disable passenger airbag.
Mm-hmm.
That tested out fine too, so it wasn't that.
I'm curious to know, because you said she's taken it wheeling.
Yeah, she has.
If someone that she knows,
if it's
took
like
it
a
out.
protocol, when your airbag, when you go four wheeling, you need to pull the fuse so that way if you hit a mud hole wrong, you don't get.
Yeah, because I've seen trucks that
absolutely
have tipped just enough that the airbags pop.
I'll have to.
That's
fantastic. Thank you. I had not thought about that, but I bet that's probably the Jeeper thing to do.
Maybe.
And if not,
well, probably
maybe you want to. That's still a great idea. Hey, maybe next time before you go, pull the 10 amp.
Yeah.
Because
I would imagine also that the generation before that didn't have airbags, and so that's probably a newer thing for like
steel steering wheel.
We got airbags now. Shit, I don't want these popping while I'm wheeling.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could totally see that.
Fantastic. I hadn't thought about that. Well done, fucker.
I'm smart sometimes.
Hey,
I mean, not like probably 3%.
Yeah.
You know.
I give you a 3.5.
Thanks, man.
You're good. I love you. You're my guy. What was the one I ordered I don't know if you've seen this on some of these. It has a third brake light.
Yeah. I've seen them.
The round light that's in the tire.
Yeah.
I think that's just fucking the cat's pajamas. I love those things.
You put that on, and then you put the cover back over the tire.
Yeah, right.
I love the look on your face as
I went, wait, what?
You're listening like,
you're a moron.
This doesn't fucking make any sense.
Yeah. Why would you do that? So here's a gripe. So I bought this.
Yeah.
Some of these things, I'll be honest, I'm probably stepping over the line and buying some of these because
that one is kind of questionable.
I'm not getting her
because it has a third brake light and the regular lights
right
already, and they were working. I think you fixed a light.
The third brake light that goes over the tire on the back, it had a blown bulb.
Oh, did you replace the bulb?
Yes.
See, now you take it out and you just leave the spare tire one in there, and then you're good to go.
Not DOT approved.
Oh, okay. Because it's not attached to the car.
See, fucker, you went one way and then you went.
I'm an idiot.
Criminal
that was
the other
the
way.
96.5%.
Yeah. So in wiring up those Jeeps, it came with a harness, but in that era of Jeep, you essentially have to splice into the third brake light wiring.
And this era being like when wheels were invented.
Right, early 90s to 2006, bitch. After 2006, there's fancy harnesses.
It has stone wheels, right?
Yeah, and you ding, 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 but it's good for four-wheeling,
right?
Not airbagging,
right? Those are the worst airbags made out of rock.
Right? Yeah. It's just face and over.
That's it.
It's over.
Yeah.
Hey, did you have fun four-wheeling?
They're more about putting you out of your misery than saving your life.
Well, you bought a Jeep, so good night. And game over.
That's right.
Dumb shit. So I'm splicing this thing into the third brake light. At the time, you would think it would have been smart for me to get a baseline. But I didn't.
Fuck it.
So the two wires.
YOLO.
Yeah, I was just fucking yeet this fucker right into it. So I am the two wires that go to the third brake light. Black and a white with a tan stripe.
Okay.
The
black is ground.
Yeah. Black as ground.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
The two wires to the third wheel brake light, black and red. Well, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly, the stock wires, black and white with tan.
Yeah.
Black is ground, white and tan, positive.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's across the board. These are the rules. There is
yeah.
There's I have zero equivocations or reservations about this being what it is.
No, that's the way it is.
I
have spoken.
I have these sick-ass fucking connectors and shrink tube, and then I go, here's the moment of truth. I set up my stick to press the brake light. One, the brake stem light is not coming on. Oh, okay. Okay, well, that's a problem. Two, the new wheel brake light, it ain't coming on either.
Oh, no.
Okay, now, fucking bitches. What is going on here?
Yeah.
So then I've got the brake light. I have to take apart my gorgeous wiring work. Mike would have been happy.
Right.
At some point, maybe. And the tailgate shut, and I get my stick in, the brake light's pressed, and 12 volts. Okay. Why?
Yeah.
And I'd only decoupled the wiring up to where I'd spliced in. So I had essentially disconnected the third brake stem light. 12 volts. Perfect. Well, why does my wheel light light up? Fucking. Okay, now I'm pissed off. I unwire everything at that point. So now I've got my two leads from my brake wheel light.
Okay.
I run over and grab a dead RV battery that had 9 volts in it. Two wires from there to the brake light. Brake light lights up. Okay, so I know the wheel light.
And it's black is negative.
Red is positive.
Red is positive.
Happy.
Yeah.
And then I try and light up manually the stock stem
third brake light.
brake light.
Yeah.
It's not lighting up at all. Wow, he's got no brake lights. I'm like, okay, what happened here? Like, is there a fucking fuse? Did I blow a fuse?
Did the bulb go out?
I ended up taking out the. I don't know if it was gone or not.
Oh.
It wasn't warm or anything, so I have no idea.
No,
but,
did the filament pop on it?
Yeah, I mean it was, but I don't know at what point that happened.
Okay.
So, conveniently enough, it's the older style glass bulb with like the wrapped around leads.
Wire, yeah.
The RV takes those kind of bulbs.
Okay.
Of which I replaced most with LED ones. So I replaced her filament with a bright ass brand new fucking LED.
Yeah.
But then I'm still struggling. I rewire it and it's still not turning on.
Huh.
And I'm like, I don't understand. Like,
you got 12 volts.
I got 12 volts here. Like, what's going on with the... And so in the Jeep, in connecting the tailgate, how the tailgate light gets power, there are these steel connectors that mate when you shut the door.
Oh.
It's super crazy.
Oh, so the third brake light doesn't work when the door's open? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, that.
Oh.
So now I'm like, well, did I always have the door shut? Because I hadn't really thought about where the wiring... Oh, fucking A. So now the door shut. So I'm making sure that I got power at the...
You're like using Scotch tape at this point?
Yeah.
Hold everything together.
What the fuck is this? Yeah, I have jumper wires like all over the place. I'm like, okay. So I definitely have power here at the gate.
Yeah.
So I know I'm getting power to right here. Okay. But then I'm chasing, like, where's my positive? It got dark. I had to come inside. And then I'm chasing around these problems like it was with the airbag and the clock spring. And it was, these fuses and the third brake light is... Nothing was getting me where I wanted. And it wasn't until I ran across some YouTube of a guy installing the same wheel light where he covered 8 minutes into his video. And so if you're thinking that black is ground and the white with tan is positive, you'd be confused because the Jeeps do fuck all for consistency.
Right.
Black is your positive, and the white and tan is ground.
Oh, my God.
And so then I came back out, and I redid all my fancy wiring after I validated that was indeed the case.
Yeah.
Wired just up the default light. It went on. Happy. Great. Oh, that's a bright-ass LED, and I'm happy with that.
Right.
Then I wired up the wheel light. It lit up with the brake and my stick, and happy. Fucking... Jeep.
Oh my
Come
God.
on, man. You fucking with me. Who makes ground white and tan?
I mean...
And positive the black.
You know what that deserves?
A kick in the nuts?
No, it deserves like a soap party, where you put soap inside of a
sock and just...
Yeah, and just start beating somebody.
God.
We all go to Detroit and we go to the Chrysler building and we just fucking soap party people.
Hey, were you in charge of the
you work
third
for
brake
Jeep?
light wiring?
Yeah, come here. You work for Jeep? Come here.
Yeah, that was me. Come here. I got a present for you here in the car. Why don't you come to...
Here's your fucking tan and white.
God.
Ground, bitch.
I'm like, really? Honestly. I wanted to get
funny.
LED taillights for her, but that was a bridge too far, so I cut and polished the taillight. So now they're like, they're super glossy on their own. The third brake light, I polished that too. So I have the really big ones
Pending,
and brake drums that are pending because I'm waiting on parts.
Yeah.
And that's the
Where we're
status of the Jeep. And I told her on my last update on Sunday, I said, I really appreciate your patience. Like, I didn't want it to be this long. Christmas break is coming up. I have to have this back to her. She's got finals and whatnot this week and next week anyway. I'm on PTO starting Friday.
Yeah.
But I don't, I really need the parts, and I'll have the time. Yeah. But it's got to be, it's settling in to knock it out, and I need the weather to cooperate. I don't think we're getting rain too far,
Is she giving Piper any grief about the length of time the Jeep's been here?
No, and like I said, I apologized up and down. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I promise I'm not trying to, and I didn't want to laud but don't bitch at me because everything's getting paid for.
Right.
I was just like, I'm really trying to get it back to you as fast as possible. I'm not dragging my feet. I got fucked on the rotors, but you're top of my list of priorities.
I mean, you could be like, well, you can take it, but I'm going to get these parts on this day and then make sure you have it back, and then I'll
Well, I can't because I disassembled the drums.
Oh.
Thinking my shipment was there.
Here it's coming.
Right.
Oh, it's
so
rotors.
I did replace the cylinder. Yeah, and it's fucking rotors. I'm like, great. These drums are out and apart.
How did they send the wrong thing?
Yeah, they sent the wrong thing.
Sent the wrong thing.
Yeah, I think it was starting to run long, maybe by a day, and so I got quick shipped. Send this, and it'll look like a fuck up. And so it is what it is.
Well, there's a trip to Kohl's.
And she had sent me something. Let's see, we're early, so I think Monday. She had sent me a message, and it was.
Can I have my Jeep back?
Yeah, can I? She's like, I want to get a steering wheel cover. What size is my steering wheel? I'm like, hold on a second, I'll go measure it. And I had tape measure, and I took a picture next to it.
Funny thing, it already has one.
Yeah, right. That was one thing I didn't get. It didn't seem that bad. And I sent her. Just as a heads up, please don't buy floor mats or seat covers. Some fat guy in a suit said they were covered.
You're all, I hope you like hot pink.
Yeah. Yeah. You like camo, right?
You like orange?
You paint camo, the pink and gray. That's manly.
We got orange seats and orange.
Yeah. That's a fucking city urban camo. With rainbow.
They're high vis. It's cool.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about your safety.
It's free. Shut your bitchin'. So, and she sent me like so the only grief that Piper has gotten in the last couple days is that your dad is buying me. We were in a store and your dad told me to not buy stuff because we were going to buy some stuff. And he's buying too many. And she's like, and so she had told Piper that she was
angry.
She was going to buy me. She was going to have to get me a Christmas present now. And I said, you tell her she cannot get me a Christmas present.
At least until the Jeep's done.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little bit early. I mean, you do need to drive it first, right? I would hold off.
It still needs to run, Jason.
Yeah, I know. Just give me a couple days to get out of the country first. I'm like, hey, please don't, to donate it to whatever money to donate to food bank or something like that. I really appreciate it. But, anyway, so there we go.
Awesome. Can I have my Jeep back now?
Yeah, can I have my Jeep?
Well, you can, but it doesn't have any brakes.
Yeah, I mean, you don't like to drift, right? Yeah, good. I mean, actually, yeah, anyway. Just leave it in gear. leave it running. Keep gas in it.
Good thing it's an automatic.
Yeah.
Put it in park and it won't roll away.
You don't have a clutch, so you don't have to worry about that. You got chock blocks. You need to keep these with you at handy at all times.
Oh my God.
Or a small person that you can. Anyway, we're way at time.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Well,
we got to cover the bases here.
Yeah. Wash your hands.
Wash your ass.
Wear the mask.
Return the cart.
Get the shot.
Do the kindness.
Check your oil.
Tony. And have a good day.
We'll catch you next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.